go live.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, now it shows it to me. Great. Now we're live with all the
yeah.
development goodness.
So have you thinking about joining the Epic Mega Jam?
Yeah,
You're ready. For sure you're going, right?
yeah, yeah. As a one man army, or if you guys wanna join me, then it's okay too. But I've been really I've been really thinking hard about joining any game jam, but it just happens that the Epic Mega Jam was right around the corner.
I guess we can figure out during this time if I will join the game jam or not. But I mean, why you shouldn't join a game jam? I have a lot of good reasons why you shouldn't join a game jam.
I mean,
Uh,
the most reasonable one is time, because that's the your more limited asset. You should really take care of it.
yeah,
You can go ahead and explore all the options.
yeah. Like you said, one is time. Um, Game jams take a lot of time, and I mean, everyone wants to do their best in the game jams, and when it's like you have like 3 days or 1 week, it's a very short amount of time, which we feel with um, very little to. Uh, so I remember we made, I think, 2 game jams or 3, but two were about game development, one about VR. I'm not sure if two. But both of them, we had like 3 days. We really only work one day.
Yeah,
Uh, it always happens. Like you plan to do, okay, have 3 days, and man, you can only work or only work one. And it's a pity because the end result is like, hey, this is much better than I expected. But if I only had the 3 days, I can't imagine how it would look like. So if you have the time, now you have the question if you really want to spend all your day doing the game, which is great if you have the time.
and
Um,
on the topic
and
of
energy.
time, you need to take in account also that you're gonna uh, well, depends on how seriously you take it. uh, if you
Mm.
if you go all out and are all 3 days like working non-stop, then yeah, you can do it. There are a lot of energy drinks that you can use, but at the end of it, you will have like a, how could I call it, um, like a tax on your body of all the work that you have done and the little rest that you have get. And even though the game jam lasted 3 days, you will feel it like 2 days or 3 days after it. Uh, if you're young, then you won't feel it that much, but as you get older, you start to to
Feel it.
yeah, to feel it more, feel it in your bones.
It's more about the energy. I remember during my university times, I could spend the whole night working. Like, I'm not sure several days, but at least one. And you feel terrible, but I mean, you still can do it. I'm not sure if I can do that now. I mean, not that old. It's been 8 years, but it's been like 8 years of grinding. So it really takes a lot of energy. That's one reason. And time. It's another reason. Um, and I guess everyone wants to do their best. So if you have 3 days, you want to spend the most amount of time making the game jam, and you want to really try your best to make most out of what you have, which is really nothing. Like if you want to create a game in 3 days, uh, it's very challenging. At the same time, it forces you to be very creative and come up with new ideas, which you wouldn't come up in a normal situation where you have a lot of time to finish the game. Like you need to think about how you can finish fast. And in the end, I feel like they feel more artistic in a way that they are not limited by technology or some kind of, I don't know, workflow or something like that. They just let's just make the game super messy, super non-scalable. Like we're not gonna use this project later. It's a mess, but it's it proof ideas fast.
Right, but we're still in the why you shouldn't do it, because there are a lot of why you should do it. But let's start negative
Yeah,
and work up to the
let's keep
positives.
it negative. Yeah. Another reason is like there are a lot of things you can do during that time. Uh, you could maybe you're working in a marketplace product. You could that time that's a lot of time to create something. Maybe not finish the product, but at least have a significant progress in your package that you want to sell. Which is a very hard task to create a marketplace package. It's really really hard. So uh, also, if you're creating a game like us, you are sacrificing the time you're developing this game to create a game jam, to create the game you're doing for the game jam. So there's always a trade-off. Um, the other type of game jam that you may be interested in is the one that gives you money if you win. I mean, all of them give you prizes. Very few of them will give you real money. Most of them will give you like software. Like they will give you like, hey, $5,000, but it's like that. I don't know, maybe the Houdini license, some other licenses you can use, which is helpful. But you cannot trade that money for something else if you really don't want that software. So uh, I remember we had a game jam, VR competition in our country, in Peru, in Latin America. Um, this was a game jam that actually was really nice. It was in a university. We had 3 days to create an application that solved one problem uh, using VR. And of course, we use Unreal. Our competitors didn't use Unreal. So
They didn't
we did it
finish.
quite good. I mean, for 3 days, it was quite good. Um, graphics are great. Gameplay, it's the full game flow. Uh, you got the package, the exe file, and you got the audio and everything, and we won that competition, and we got around like 5,000 US dollars at that time, uh, around that amount, and it was really nice. I mean, it's $5,000 for 3 days of work, and it was pretty fun to make.
Yeah, I still have the big check.
Yeah,
Fond memories.
yeah, for really fun memories. Now, this is the kind of game jam that you will be interested in, even if it takes you time and energy and sanity. I mean, if they give you money, you will be all in. And if you win, you will be super happy. I mean, just 3 days, $5,000. Easiest money I've ever made in my life. So that's a good thing. So I guess the only bad thing is just takes a lot of time and energy. I have a workmate who I think he had like insane amount of child. Like it's not like 3 or 4, it's like crazy amount. And he still does the game jams. He still have times to play around with the engine and he works in the AAA industry. He's amazing. I don't know how he does it. Uh, Amazing, really. Uh, so if you have that kind of ability, I guess that's good for you. But I
Yeah,
guess that's there are more good things than bad things. But that time is a huge one. Time is really super heavy, even if it's only one thing. Um, but I guess let's talk about the good things about it.
that was fast.
Um, it's very rewarding. Um, I mean, I've done very few game jams, like maybe two, maybe two. Yeah, like games, not really like boring apps like VR, some kind of thing like that. Just, Uh,
Okay,
games.
okay.
Um, and it was fun. Um, Especially, I think that was way back in the beginning, one of the first game jams that Unreal hosted, right? I'm not sure if it was the first, what one of the first. We did a game called the Timefold, where you can like find clues in an office and like go back in time, try to figure out who murdered your workmate.
Yeah, we went
Some
with a
crazy.
time mechanic, with a traveling back in time that took
Yeah,
a little bit of time. Uh, you usually want to keep your game really simple, but every game jam, one start thinking about like an interesting mechanic to fit that theme, and you get really interesting ideas. Like you said, having a constraint of time and a constraint of uh, the theme that you need to develop around, it's a great way of doing that exercise that you don't normally do. At least if you're working on games, you usually don't get to think too much about games. Uh, for example, I'm a programmer. And they just tell me these are the features that we need this week. Let's do it, right? And most of the thinking goes about the mechanics. How does the system is the system working? Is it extensible? Is it modular? Can we create on top of it? But you don't. I mean, I believe most of us entered because they wanted to create games, not so much because of the technical ability to create them. That if you like to do it, that's even better. But most of the passion is on games, right? And having a space to do exactly that, it's wonderful. Even though a game jam, if you don't have a team, can get really difficult, because on top of that you need to find a good team, or if it's not like too good, you need to manage your resources, right? there is there is a saying that there isn't a bad resource, but a resource bad managed. Even though if someone doesn't know how to do anything, you can assign them tasks. For example, I don't know, managing the time or creating new mechanics and just ignoring that person and just, well, uh, checking if they have something interesting or something that it's doable, because whenever someone that doesn't know how to do something starts thinking about something, then it they ignore a lot of technical problems that can arise by their game design, right? So important to have a good team or to manage it well at least.
Yeah. Yeah, what you say is very important. I mean, it's very refreshing, the fact that you need to focus on creating a game, not so much on how you do it, but what you are creating, which is uh, the main reason you start making games for most of you. And having a space where you can explore these ideas and you can create them very easily, it's it's refreshing. Um, and of course, when you have a team, uh, it's a good time to it's a good time to think about what are their strengths and weakness, so that they only focus on what they're good at, because they don't have time to do something they're not good at, really. For example, someone is good with, I don't know, some music, and they are like trying to figure out how to model something, so they start watching tutorials, how to install Blender, how to create a cube, and that takes time. So if that person can just do music, then just let him do that. But also there are times where people just want to explore something that they are not good at in the game jam. It's like a place where everything is forgiven, because the you can't blame me. I only had 3 days to create this. I mean, if it's bad, if it's boring, if it looks bad, hey, it's only 3 days. Be so hard on me, right? So a game jam is like a nice excuse to try new things that you're not good at, and just see what you can come up with and learn some stuff that you usually don't do. For example, I mean, when I'm doing game dev, when I'm creating our game, I do 3D. This is what I'm good at. I've doing it for years, and it makes sense to me that if I join the game jam, I will support with 3D. But also, I'm interested in learning more about blueprints, more about cinematics, how to combine the sequence. I'm curious about learning how to do destruction and Niagara and these kind of things. So I can use the game jam an opportunity to learn, um, try these things which I'm not good at, and really learn a lot during these days. And the end result, like, of course, not gonna be great compared to someone who's like very good at coding or blueprints. In my case, which I only do art, so it's mostly about having fun, really. Game jams are fun. That's one thing. I think game jams sometimes are even more fun than bigger projects, uh, in a sense that you don't have when you're creating a game, you have to deal with a lot of crap you don't want to deal with.
Yeah,
Sometimes repetitive stuff. Uh, I don't know, cleaning up the folders because someone renamed the folder badly, and deleting assets you're not using. Um, Doing repetitive stuff like you're spawning some things or decorating the level. Yeah, decorating the level is fun. If you have a 8 kilometer level, then you will need to repeat a lot of tasks to complete it. So
definitely.
yeah. Oh, Lewis is here. Hello again, Lewis. So yeah, game jams don't give you the option to do repetitive tasks, right? Um, there is no time to be repetitive. Um, you either solve this fast or you don't do it, and that really forces you to decide, like if you really want to have that feature or something. Like, oh man, this will take a lot of time. And I think especially when you're a beginner, it's uh, it's even easier to fall into the trap that you can do a lot of things in a short amount of time. I think compared our first game jam to the last one we made, there was a significant difference in the sense that we can decide what we will do and what we will not. And we can agree easily that, yes, this cannot be finished on time. And I remember for the VR game jam, we come up with a concept very fast, like, okay, this will be the game. This is how you finish. And do not make it any harder because we don't have more time. And that got us enough time to polish everything, like super nice sounds, animation, the environment, the coding, everything as polished as possible in a short amount of time. Whereas our first game jam, maybe it's like, oh, let's do everything. And then, oh, we run out of time. And the guy is trying to learn how to import assets to Unreal.
Yeah,
Like, it's okay. Like, let's do the plan B. Let's grab assets from the marketplace. Right. And I mean, you learn by experience by making games that things get look are actually harder than it looks like. I guess that a good rule of thumb is it always takes longer than you think. No matter how experienced you are, it always takes longer. Happens when you are practicing, happens in game jams, happens at work, happens in indie games, happens in AAA games, happens everywhere. Game dev is slow by nature, so you really need to think fast.
yeah, definitely. And at any point, are we gonna give tips about game? I have this little chart that I have been for the people that just enter the stream. This is the things that we have been talking about. Just to recap, why you shouldn't do it is if you don't have time. If you and it's gonna take a toll on your health definitely, depending on how well you manage it. But still, having 3 days of intense work, having to think about the game and trying to finish it in 3 days, usually because there are game jams that last a month. That well, we're talking more specifically about the upcoming one, the Epic Mega Game Jam that lasts 3 days, and uh, that will take a toll on your health if you don't manage to well to space your time and give yourself some time to rest. But even if you try to work like only, I don't know, 8 hours a day or 4 hours or whatever, it is still a lot of effort. So that's like the main negative things that we have to point out. And well, the positive things that we have been talking about is a good space to be creative. You don't normally have the ability to take decisions on a game that you're already working on because of time constraints, because there are other people specifically for, I don't know, designing mechanics. Also, it's a good space to try new things. You can make mistakes. It's okay. That's part of the reason of joining a game jam. And also, it's fun. You can meet new people. You can do new things. Um, you can learn a lot. And at the end of it, you will probably have a game. And what's more exciting than making a game and having something to show at in 3 days, right? And that's the magic of it. So I don't know if you have more things to add to any part of this. I mean, they are general ideas. I didn't want to fill up with everything exactly as we said it, but those are mostly the ideas that we were talking about.
I think I will add the feeling that someone is playing your game. It's priceless. It doesn't matter how bad or how good it is. It's like just watching someone playing your game and doing things that you didn't really figure out when you were making it, or you didn't count on it. Um, it's very fun to watch, and it's amazing. I mean, uh, I could watch the whole day people playing the games I made easily. Can have the marathon. I watch people playing your games and chill, and that's a very personal thing. I mean, you you start making games because you want people to play them and actually enjoy them and have fun, and hopefully remember it, so that, oh yeah, I played this game a long time ago, it was very funny, or it was like anything is like super bad or super good. If it's too bad, it will be remembered as bad. It's better than nothing, but it's very rewarding to see people playing your game,
Yeah, and
no matter
especially
how.
with the Epic Mega Game Jam, there are a lot of streamers that take it upon themselves to try all games. Uh, you can learn a lot by watching someone else play your game. Like it don't always feels good, but even if they trash your game, you will get a lot of positive feedback. Like maybe your level design wasn't clear enough. It will be pretty easy to know when they get lost on your level. If your mechanics were not clear enough, maybe you added, I don't know, a double jump and never uh, taught it to the player, then you will be scratching your head and asking yourself, why are they not using the double jump? And it will be a really positive experience overall. Even if the game doesn't work, well, at least it should work uh, the bare minimum, right? Uh, that we can talk about how to make, like, how to get in the mentality of entering a game jam, like in a moment. But yeah, very rewarding to watch someone else play the game.
Yeah, and from watching many game jams, I mean, and in my own experience too, it's we we really when you start out making games, it's really easy to fall into the trap that you're making a prototype, because the prototype is the easiest thing. Not the easiest, but the fastest thing to make, right? It's the first step. And the prototype is not enough to show the game. Uh, it requires a lot of time, and a lot of games offer different kinds of experience, like the feelings and how it makes you feel when you jump, how the camera move, what happens when they hit you, like the camera shake and the timing and everything. Um, there are a lot of things behind the game. It's not only, oh, I run, then I jump. It's a lot of things, because games are not only like boring programs that work. It's like, yeah, you jump, but uh, if you actually make an amazing jump, like you jump and the camera move and like there is a sound on it, the player will be like, wow, so cool to jump. So it actually plays with the feelings more than anything else, which takes me to the point that you should worry more about polishing your game than adding more features, which is a rule of thumb for basically any game, not only game jams, but especially game jams. When you polish it, it feels like it's way, way, way better. And I mean, you might not, especially like if you're a programmer or any kind of role actually. Um, but let's say you're a programmer, you're doing the basic logic. It's like, yeah, I run and I jump and I get a pickup and I get a point. My job is done, right? Uh, but it's like you say at the beginning, uh, that can be part of the job. Like you're making things work, but where you're making a game jam, you're actually creating a game, and that involve thinking about how to make it fun, not only how to make it work. So you need to think about the sounds, you need to think about the pacing, you need to think about the camera, how it moves when you play. And technically, it's the same. The player can run and jump, uh, but it's really not the same because um, it feels different. Uh, this is what we call like the intention and the realization, where the intention is like it works, like the player can run and jump, but the realization it goes about more about the feelings, like how you want the player to feel when he runs. uh, does the camera goes back and there is a post processing or some camera shake or anything, and what happens when he jumps, how high he can jump, how what's the animation, what's the sound, and when he lands, how it will feel. And all these little things take time to polish. So, and they worth it. Uh, it's like your game. It's true that it's the old saying that 80% of your work is the last 20% of it. I don't know how to paraphrase it. Like you do your game, you think you're finished, and you're like, I'm 20% out of finish this. That 20% actually takes 80% of the work. So yeah, basically keep your scope low so that you can have time to make this polish. And when you're a beginner, this kind of polish doesn't seem too important because you're thinking about only your thing. Especially if you're like too specialized, that kind of mentality is good for AAA studios or long-term projects, indies, or any other kind of project, where you're only focusing or your thing, and some people will work on their thing. Um, but for this one, for example, if I'm a 3D artist, I need to think about more about the game. I need to think about the level design. I need to think about the collisions. I need to think about, will it make it feel the player confused or something? But I need to think about the whole picture, the gameplay itself, the everything. So game jams give you very little space to do this kind of mistakes. So you need to think about the whole picture instead of just one little thing, which is it's fun. And it's different. You don't have this kind of opportunity when you're making a big project.
No, because there is money involved, so you want to play it really, really safe.
Yeah. I mean, you're still thinking about it, but uh, it's just there is no time to make it rough and then fix the mistakes in the future. It will cost you a lot if you make it really fast. I guess the other thing is to try out ideas, like some idea of a game you have had for a long time and you want to try it, then the game jam is a good opportunity. I can tell you what I don't like about the game jams is uh, there's always a theme,
Okay.
and I get that because I mean you don't want the people to start before the official date, right? If you don't give me a theme, like do any kind of game you want, then everyone will cheat and just start making the game. But if you give a theme, then um, people will be forced to wait for the date to actually know what they will be creating. Otherwise, they don't have any idea what to create.
Right.
But what I don't like about the teams is that there are some teams that I don't like. I mean, some game jams have nice teams. It's like art station competitions. There are some competitions that it's like, wow, this team looks really nice, and I wish to participate. And some of them are like, man, I hate this team. It's like, for example, that Wild Wild West team. I'm not into cowboys. I'm not into Red Redemption. Cool games, but I'm not into building uh old Wild West houses and trees, mountains,
Right.
and horses. I'm just not into it. But if you give me like a fantasy theme, maybe sci-fi, or even better, like my favorite theme is like medieval fantasy, something like that, then I would like to work on it. And same happens with the game jams. Some teams I don't like. For example, the first one we did, the time fault, is like I don't know what to do with this. In terms of art, I feel very limited, but I will try to find the opportunity to do something else, like cinematics or things like that, to polish my skills. But yeah, there are some things that I don't like. I'm not sure if you share the same opinion or you're like more open to any kind of thing. It's okay.
I'm a little bit more open, but at the same time, there are ways to make the theme work for you. For example, if they say cowboys, then you just need to bend it a little bit. For example, if you like, I don't know, uh, if you really like, I don't know, sci-fi, then you can make it, I don't know, cowboys in space, right? And it's not like, even though the theme can sometimes be really clear and like give you one direction, you can still find ways to. No, I mean, you want cowboys, but you will get my my take on cowboys, right? So in in that ways, at least the theme is like the guiding star, but I usually take a, if I don't like the theme, like I take another path that just can justify some of the theme, right? Just so I can make something that I want to make. Because if you're gonna invest 3 days of your time, then you should at least like what you're doing, right? But it gets really difficult if you are in a team that doesn't have that type of flexibility, and they take it really literal. If they give you, I don't know, a theme with fire, and they want to put flames in the game, and it can be any type of fire. It doesn't have to be the conventional fire, but there are people that get obsessed with the theme. So it's important to keep an open mind when working, especially when it can be a thing that you don't really like, or you don't really have much to, I don't know, much experience. Maybe if 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 it's something sci-fi and you have a lot of organic skills, I don't know, making plants or designing stuff, alien stuff. Well, maybe aliens can help you, but if you don't have the hard surface skills, then it could be a pain to make something sci-fi. So it's, even though the theme can really uh, make it harder for you, uh, it can be used as a positive, because you can use your imagination to change completely the meaning of it, right? Yeah, and you just need to justify it some way for it to count. So that's a good skill to have.
I guess more it will be more trouble if you don't have a good team than the team itself, right? Like working with a good team can really make a difference. Um, Especially when enjoying it, when they all coordinate and they think alike, and especially if they have more or less the same experience. Uh, they don't want to explain things to people. They're like, we already know this. We know why you're doing this way. And especially people you like to work with
Yeah,
and can make it fun.
it could be a really good way if you're just starting with a team. Like a good test run could be like, oh, let's enter this game jam and see how we work, because you will get some miscommunication problems that you could have found, like, uh, at the, I don't know, 2 weeks after starting development. And also you can see the actual skills, the technical skills that your team has, and how it managed to mix together. Because I mean, the initial part, the design part of any game is really fun. It's really cool, and everything is uh, color pink, because everything works because it's in paper, right? But
Mm.
as soon as you start development, then you will find that someone maybe didn't understand it like it was explained or someone explain it badly and no one understand. So it can be really useful to to try and see if you can work well with another person. I managed to do that with someone in the community of the Unreal community here in Peru, where when I joined the, it was the World Game Jam. It was a game jam that was done worldwide, and there was one university here in Peru that offered to host the people that wanted to participate, and there I like there was a project coming, and they asked me for more people, but I didn't like knew too well the people here, so I made a post like, anyone using Unreal wants to participate on this game and game jam, let's make a team. And they joined because, well, we we were the only ones using Unreal, and also the one that I was targeting also managed to join, and we managed to hit it off. Uh, I learned all the things that they were missing in terms of technical skills, and but uh, at the other time, because you get like such a uh, tight frame of time, you can know how they react to pressure, right? And that's really important, because if they crack, then the game industry is full of crunch, full of deadlines that need to be met. And we can make another video about time management and how to avoid crunch, but it's usually whenever the team expands, it's a lot harder to manage that stuff, because there are a lot of more moving pieces that can go wrong. Maybe someone can get sick, and then you're late on a deliverable like 1 week, and there's not much you can do about it, right? So having that in mind, I managed to assess that this person would be a good fit for the team I was recruiting. And yeah, it was a pleasant experience, because I didn't have any surprises of how this person would react to pressure, how this person would react to team meetings, how they would take the feedback, because there are a lot of people that when you give them, let's call it constructive criticism, uh, they take it too personally, and you need to make them understand, like, I'm not judging you, I'm judging your work, and if your work is bad, I will tell you that it's bad, but it doesn't mean that you are bad. It's just that you need to learn more, or you need to practice more, or just fix this little thing, or anything. So it it works in all the ways, like people skills and technical skills. Game jams really help for are really helpful for that stuff.
Yeah, have you ever got the experience where you team up with someone you really don't want to?
Yeah, and I usually don't like to work with too many idea guys. I mean, one, okay, that's fine, but more than one, uh, it's usually really hard to assign them something, or because the thing about uh, idea guys are not game designers. They're just idea guys because they are throwing a lot of ideas. They are not processing them. They are not giving you on how like an idea of how to integrate it to what you already are building. And what I did was start For example, once uh, like it's important to have a a schedule here. For example, if you have 3 days, what I determine is that the first day will be like mostly game design and trying stuff. The second day will be the development, and the third day will be all the polish that we did the second day, right? So you are not uh, testing too much around on the third day or on the second day. You are implementing stuff, and stuff can change, but that way, it's a good way to finish something. That was my main goal, to finish something. And the thing about this game jam is that we were like 9 persons, nine people, and not all of them were developers. One was
Nine is a lot.
yeah, it's too much. It's too much, and I didn't reject anyone because it was kind of a challenge. Yeah, if you want to join, that's fine by me. If I need to work alone, that it's also fine by me. But it seems to have a spread, and oh, that group is taking anyone, and it was a big mistake. But this meant that I had like two audio guys in my team, and I had like one idea guy that didn't know too much about game development, and one other person that its job was like managing people, that even though it didn't directly impact the development of the game, at least knowing that there was someone with people skills that knew how to make people feel comfortable and manage the time. I just said to her like, just don't let us work like, if it's like a continuous hour of work, then interrupt us, ask us questions, like we can take a walk, because I try to do that, but whenever I'm developing, I get really sucked into the work and enter the zone, and then I, I watch my clock, and 2 hours have passed, and I mean, what happened? You don't really know how much time is is going, right? How the time flow really changes whenever you're really invested in the work. So at least for that person, it was really helpful to have in the team. But all the like two people, that the two other guys that were just idea guys, like what I did was, oh, just create the story behind the game. And I mean, if you if you get that task, is you're not really making the game, but at the same time, um, you feel part of the game because you are developing at least the story, or have something to do, right? Because it really sucks when you're just watching, and it that can be the experience of a lot of people that are joining the game jam to learn, right? And it's not really bad to join a game jam to just learn something, but uh, if you have a team that is really work oriented, then you won't get too much stuff to do. So like I said, you just need to know how to manage every resource you have, and if that resource can go and buy lunch for everyone, then it's really useful to have, because and well, this is like uh, game jams that require your presence, and it physical game jams, but those aren't happening anymore. So you will need to find a new way of using those resources.
That's interesting. I never had opportunity to work on a game jam with so many people. You mentioned something important. Actually, like the majority of the people are not veterans. The ones are make doing the game jam are usually not people who are working in AAA studio or something because they just don't have the time and they make games all day. They just don't want to make games in their extra time again.
Yeah.
So you're really not dealing with your average AAA game developer. You're or just like create something super fast. Uh, in that way, that's good for competition because it's like you don't need to deal with those guys. They don't have the time. Uh, which is the big factor we talked before. And the majority of the people even don't some some of them don't really know anything about game development. It's just their experience, their first experience creating a game. They don't even know maybe what Unreal is. They're just, oh, I hear you can create games with this. Let's have a try, and they will have fun with it. And they will maybe they will get hit by the harsh reality that making a game was extremely hard. And like, hey, okay, I had all these ideas, and yeah, next time I will just have one idea and try to make it right. But the majority of the people are just learning or you know just trying to have fun. I mean, the main objective here is to have fun for the game jams. No one really does this if they don't want it, right? No one is forced to do a game jam. That's the thing. If you do it, it's because you want to have fun.
Yeah. Well, depends. The only exception is that I didn't want to do a game jam, but I forced myself, and and it was, and that's another topic that it's really important to discuss. You need to have your goal really clear on what you want to get out of a game jam. It's not really wise to just join because you want to join. Every time I have done a game jam, for example, the last time, the one with 9 people, that uh, that was an experience of itself. But my goal there was to break the monotony that I was having in my life. I was working for a game company, and I was really bored with doing the games they wanted to do, and I also wanted to know more people that develop Unreal and not only know them but also work with them. But I didn't want to get another job, and I didn't also want to invest too much of my time developing other games than the ones that we were doing on the company, right? So even though like I'm not too much of a people person, like that game jam specifically was one that I needed to go to a place and talk to a lot of people, find a team, and etc. etc. So my goal was to put myself on that uncomfortable situation because I end up sleeping anywhere, and I'm really a guy that uh, wants to be comfortable, wants to sleep at the correct hours, and wants to get like my 7.5 hours of sleep. But my goal was no, let's be as uncomfortable as you can be, and see what happens from this, right? What have
Yeah,
been your goals usually for game jams?
mm, the last one was money,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one was funny.
which was successfully achieved. Um, uh, Usually the goal is to, uh, for me, it was having like the experience of creating a game fast and finishing it. because I mean I feel more of this closer to an art than a job. Yes, there are jobs for games. You can make a living doing games, and there are a lot of money involved in the game industry. That's for sure. Um, but actually, I feel is uh, if the reason I'm making it is because I feel like I'm making art, and it's a complex form of art. But art is about having fun and enjoy it, and it's more connected like to the heart, instead of just doing the job. So I don't feel it like work. I'm just creating something. Uh, so you don't have that. It doesn't feel like you're doing art that much in a sense that uh, when you're working on a big game, it feels, yeah, you're making art, but you're not making a game. Let's see, your job is to make look, for example, my job for me is to make the things look pretty, and I do it. And sure, I'm proud of it. Uh, it's nice, but it doesn't have the same feeling as creating a game, where I mean it's just total totally different when you create something that it has so much things involved on it, like the music, the sounds, the art, and the interaction, the programming, the gameplay, and all this. It has no words. So creating this kind of thing, it's an art of itself. So I wanted to experience finishing a game, which I is very frustrating as a developer to work on something and you don't finish the project, or the project takes too long to finish, and you don't see that uh, interaction that the people playing your game. Usually, especially if you're working on a big project, can take a year or two, 3 years, 6 years. You don't know. Uh, Especially when the team is very big and there is money involved, uh, it can take a lot of time. So I feel like I wanted to have like the experience. It doesn't matter about the quality; it's about what you can create during those times. But actually, create game. Don't we get so focused on creating the art or my specialty,
Yeah.
which I'm it's slowly getting away from my specialty because like I heard one day like specialization is for insects, and it really kills you over time. Like if you do it like for so many years, you specialize in something, you become really good at it. But it's the nature of the mind that always wants to change and try new things. So if you want to feel alive, you need to feel change, right? Like life is change. So I guess the most amount of change comes when creating a game and you are actually creating a lot of things. It feels like you are making something that is not a job. Uh, it's totally different when working for someone else or working on a big project. Uh, it does feel like a job. I mean, repetitive, sometimes, especially in a big companies, super repetitive.
Yeah.
Uh, but in a smaller company, can feel a little less repetitive, a little bit more creative, more freedom. But still, there are tasks you don't want to do that are necessary. I feel like the game jam is only do what you want to do and have fun, and that's very refreshing. There is one thing you mentioned. Trying to remember. Uh, Let me think for a minute.
About what topic? The goals?
Uh, no, I completely forgot. I should have write it. Uh, yeah, my memory failed me.
Oh no.
I think in general it's a fun experience. Um, it's not at all like creating a game for a long term. Like it's totally different experience. It's nice to have, and actually it remembers you while you're creating games.
Yeah. And it will give you a lot of ideas.
Mm.
I had one friend that entered like a lot of game jams, and his main goal was to test a new technology. For example, if he wanted to learn how to program online games with using sockets in in C sharp, then he will enter a game jam, learn everything that he can the first day, and then start working something. And I mean, the thing about that approach is that you don't always finish with something polished, but that wasn't his goal. His goal was to learn, so
Yeah, yeah.
it really served him well.
It pushes you to finish things
Yeah,
in a time you normally wouldn't, and it actually gives you some sense of, I don't know. If you do it without context, I don't think you achieve that much. I mean, it feels fun that I know other people are doing the same, and there's actually like the competition feeling, but it's like you push yourself to finish something in a short time that you normally wouldn't because there is no incentive. But yeah, it's always about it doesn't necessarily is like finish the game is learn something that you want, something you're a little bit rusty. Usually the thing you avoid most is the one you need to learn. So you can have the game jumps to experience that. Talking about time, uh, I know a lot of people don't like to sleep when they're uh, making the game jam. Uh, there's these creatures that are able to uh, create the games for like 3 days straight. Um, I used to do that when I was in college. Uh, Not by my own will, of course, I was forced. Uh, and over time, I realized just having a good sleep and having a good rest can make you think just finish things way faster. Even if you think like you don't have time, there's always time to rest. And if you rest well, the next day uh, you will make a good job. I mean, you will think sharper, you will think faster, you will make less mistakes, which you will make a lot of mistakes if you don't rest for sure.
definitely.
Um, and it's also a very unhealthy thing not to sleep during the game jam. I mean, you have 3 days, but don't push it too hard. I mean, if you want to keep it sustainable, let's just say, uh, I don't know, like for us, if it will be a good experience to uh, game jams every time a month. I think that we that really depend on how we manage the time. Because if we like burn ourselves in one game jam, it's like without sleeping, everything super hard. It becomes a super exhausting experience, and you don't want to do it again for the next time. At least in a short while, you don't want to do this again. Um, I think it will be fun to make one time a month or one time every 2 months. Um, it's to create games, It's like put it there. People are playing it. It's not finished. It's free, but people are playing it and they can have fun. Uh, yeah, you shouldn't avoid sleeping when you're making a game. That's a rule. Uh, I think one of the hidden rules that no one wants to admit.
Yeah, you
It's
think
hard to
you're
it's hard to make that choice. Okay, I need to sleep.
yeah,
You feel like a loser
yeah,
because there is this mentality. I think this is American. I think this is a very American way. Like no pain, no gain. It's like no time for rest.
is
Sleep is for the weak.
isn't China the same
Uh,
with their
I think so.
overtime and all the
I
stuff?
think so. Um, here, I think here is a little bit different from America. Uh, yeah, it's a little bit different. Uh,
Okay.
Here is just value more work than other things, so you don't really feel like you're sacrificing anything. There is like work is like something that you need to force it to happen and push it, especially when we're talking about sports or some kind of competitive environment. There's always they always tell you there's always one guy working when you're sleeping. It's like you wake up like this in the middle of the night. Uh, it's true, but I mean, when you sleep, you just work better. So in the long term, it will be very beneficial for you. And in the short term too, if you do 3 days of game jam and you sleep two, I'm sure you will have a good result. And one thing that happens with sleep is that if you don't sleep well, then you become crazy. Like it's very unhealthy. It's one of the worst things you can do that is under underrated. That we try to avoid things that are unhealthy, but we don't see sleeping as a disease. Lack of sleep as a disease, which it is. There are a lot of studies that they have done how your brain reacts when you don't sleep. And there was this book called remember the name,
Why we sleep?
While We Sleep, and it starts like imagine you're having a kid and you ask the doctor how is he, is he healthy, like uh like your child is born. It's like you ask the doctor is he healthy, and he says yeah, he's okay. He will just be able like feel like zombie and you know don't really have some like mental uh, mental lack. Like he won't be able to think fast and he will be like a zombie every day for the rest of his life, but other than that he's fine. And that's basically what happens when you like sleep. Like uh, you you will be in a state that your body doesn't really want it. And sleep is one of the things that influence the most in the your average lifespan. Like there are a lot of studies or countries or places where people sleep a lot and they usually live a lot. Uh, some of them are forced to sleep during the afternoon. They don't work during the afternoon. They open again in the nights.
Ooh.
Some place in Rome that I'm not sure if they still like that. And yeah, it's really important. And when you're doing the game jam, you will feel like you don't have time to sleep. You do. You have a lot of time to sleep. You have a lot of time to work on it. This is an intellectual sport, so if you rest well, you will finish faster. A lot of things can finish in minutes instead of hours just because you sleep well. That happens. That happens every day, especially at work. You're doing something, just by the end of the day, you're tired. You don't know how to solve something. Take a rest, sleep well the next day, solve it super easy. 5, 10 minutes. Whereas the day before you didn't know how to. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't sacrifice your health for the game jam.
The and the worst thing about it is that you will realize, you will take notice of this, but too late. If you manage, I don't know, to pull an all-nighter, whenever you get time to sleep and then look at, I don't know, your project again, if you were, I don't know, coding around, you will see that you probably broke more things that you fixed,
Yeah, terrible.
and it's all a waste of time. So yeah, you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah. We actually have more time if you sleep than if you don't. That's the thing that you need to be aware of. So it's not only about the health, it's also about, I think the project will be better. Talking about sleep. It's 12:20 here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. How are you doing on time?
Yeah. Just
Do-
curious about what you're doing in the game now.
Yeah, you always, it's always good to know at the end of the stream what we have done. Um, I was doing the flow of the being able to press a button, enter a movement mode, then whenever your movement bar depleted, then we can stop it, and that's the part I was doing, but I don't know if it's working. Let me check. So we have play. A unit with the highest initiative should be selected. Right now I'm selected the first unit I find. Right now we have no actions. I press movement and we enter the movement mode. We have the bar. If I move around, the bar depleted, and finally depletes, when it finally depletes, then stop selecting. If this is the player controller, should go here. It isn't the player controller. Well, that's it, what that explains it, but at the same time it doesn't. Well, I have a little bug there, but not too much to worry. So that's what I have been doing.
Bugs are part of games.
Yeah.
But cool. It will be fun to watch this kind of progress in the long term, like in 3 or 6 months, where you can see how the game evolve. This is our baby with
Yeah.
a lot of care. Nothing's rush. It's, it's very nice.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you will be able to make a RPG tactical game in a game jam.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Unless you have already a template, and there are a lot of game jams that allow you to use templates, to use marketplace assets.
Mm.
I believe the real one lets you.
Yeah,
Nice. I Now it's working, but it's not exactly good. So yeah, it's a good. It's good
good
enough for
progress.
now.
Yeah. All right. So we wrap it up.
Yep. Yep. Good idea to wrap it up.
Thank you guys. See you in the next one.
And take care. Take care of your health. Sleep well. And yeah, see you next time.